So I just got back from ESET World in Las Vegas, which is a major cybersecurity conference put on by ESET. I got to meet a lot of executives in the industry, a lot of big brain researchers in the industry, and most importantly, I got to interview some of the top executives and ask all the burning questions, including the most important one on a lot of your minds. Where the heck is the robot?
Nico knows tech, all your tech tips and reviews on deck. Nico knows tech, #1 channel with the news on check.
Welcome to part 1 of my coverage of ESET 2025. In this video, I have a sit-down interview with Tony Anscombe, the spokesperson for the entire ESET company. I ask him questions about cybersecurity, of course, but also AI and how that fits into cyber threats. And at the end, so you don't want to miss it, I also find out why Andy the Android is missing. If you don't know what that is, that's the robot or cyborg that was on all of ESET's retail boxes and all of their marketing, and they replaced it with what I think looks like a deck or a pill. I've heard it called several different things, but Tony clarifies exactly what that is and what it means. All right, I'm here with Tony Anscombe, who's ESET's Chief Security Evangelist. Thank you for sitting down with me, Tony, and talking. I know a bit about you, but why don't you tell us what exactly is it you do? What is an evangelist in ESET?
Why does everybody have that question, Nico?
Is it because ESET is God?
No.
Okay.
And I, unfortunately, in my mind, because I'm older, I always think of Phil Collins and a certain music video he made a number of years ago as an evangelist. But we'll leave that there. Why am I an evangelist? I go around the world talking about cybersecurity and cybersecurity trends, which is a really important thing to go discuss. I tend not to talk too much about our products, but about the need for our products and why the industry is going in a certain direction. The company I used to work for used to use the term ambassador, and the term evangelist was used because the US Immigration Department didn't like the word ambassador.
So you mentioned about because of where the industry is going. Where do you see it going?
Well, the industry is really interesting. So one thing we know is cybercrime is not going away, it's only increasing. The number of vulnerabilities is increasing. So if you look at the number of disclosed CVEs last year, I think top 40,000, there was an increase of a significant proportion. So the challenge is for people to stay safe online and keep their systems secure is growing and growing and growing. And at the same time, unfortunately, there's a lack of talent. If you look, I think I saw something the other day that talks about the number of open positions in cybersecurity within the US in a particular month last year. And there were 400,000 open positions and only 200,000 people available on the market. So even if you filled every position with all the available people, you still end up with not enough cybersecurity people. So this talent shortage, I think, is a real particular issue for many.
That's really interesting because in the United States, everyone is being told, like, I should get into cybersecurity. There's all these opportunities. But from your perspective, like, this is also a problem. So a little bit into AI, are you seeing a lot of AI-driven attacks where AI is actually being used in the attack, or they're somehow used to develop attacks? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so AI is obviously a big topic, and it's become a general conversation topic, isn't it? Because of the likes of ChatGPT, and we can engage with AI, etc. So are cyber criminals using AI? Well, the answer to that is yes. But they're not using AI to conduct the attacks, they're using AI to assist them in conducting the attack. So for example, if you wanted to run a phishing campaign, you might actually upload the content into an LLM that will give you natural language back with perfect text, perfect grammar, beautifully written. And of course, then you craft that into an email, and it becomes very difficult for the likes of you and I to then identify what's phishing and what's not. But they might also be using AI in the tooling as well. So, the other end of that phishing attack is to deliver malware, or it's to deliver something malicious, and that at that point they may well have used an AI creation or AI tooling to create that malware. But the attack itself is not being generated by AI, and I think it's important to understand that slight distinction. the difference between an AI attack and an AI assisted attack.
Oh, so in other words, Skynet is not self-aware and we're still safe from the machines taking over?
Oh, a Terminator fan, eh?
Yes, a bit.
Yeah. We're not quite there yet. And what I'd liken it to is you've still got your hands on the wheel.
Okay,
It's
good.
autonomous driving, but you're still holding the wheel.
Yeah, I was asking some of the other AI and threat researchers, and I said, does that mean that AI has a personality? And they're like, no. They talked about automation and assisting and making things more powerful. So, of course, AI and emerging threats and wondering what's out there, all these, cybersecurity has a lot of Hollywood behind it. But realistically, what is the most current dangerous threat that keeps you up at night, if any?
Well, ransomware would be the obvious answer. But actually, interestingly, I think business email compromise, and certainly here in the US, if you look at the IC3 numbers from the FBI and you look at reports from the FTC, business email compromise is a huge issue for companies. And a lot of that, I think, can be solved by process. But if we look at how it's being conducted, that's where I think some of the protection needs to be put in place. Email systems need to be secure. You need to not let the bad guys get in and be within your email system and taking advantage in that way. And you also need to train your staff to be aware of deepfake technology because deepfake audio, deepfake video are all tooling that somebody might use in a business email compromise. I mean, just think of email as the best example though. Imagine if I could get into your email system and I download all the emails that your CFO and your CEO have sent each other for the last 5 years. And then I use those as my model to then craft emails between the two, asking for an urgent transfer. It's going to look and feel real. It's going to look and sound like the person. And suddenly I'm using an AI-assisted attack to take out millions of dollars. Now, of course, you might ask, but how much money can a cyber criminal make on business email compromise? I think the best example of that actually is Orion, a Luxembourg-based company listed on the NYSE, made an SEC disclosure at the end of last year for 3 transfers they made, which were business email compromise, totaling $60 million.
$60 million to people that are just pretending to be them with AI.
You're correct.
Well, I've seen some of the high profile, those viral clips of people pretending to be Elon Musk, and it's really convincing. And there was that I think that might have been what you're referencing, that really high profile where they pretended to be a CFO and got $30 million over the phone. And that's just that's really amazing. I'm even paranoid that someone's going to see my YouTube channel, make a model, and then make me say something silly on an AI. It's a real concern.
But you mentioned the cryptocurrency scams there of Elon Musk being used or news anchors being used in that way.
And Joe Rogan, they make Joe Rogan on TikTok promoting these silly products. And I'm like, Joe doesn't do that, but they're making him say it. Their voices there. It's so convincing.
Well, and the back end of those attacks are very convincing as well. So not only the bit to drag you into the scam to start with, but the back end of that scam is sophisticated. So they'll ask you to invest $250, $300 to start with. So your entry point is low, but they have built an entire web back end, so you can see your investment. And you can see your investment growing. And then in a month's time, they'll be turning around and saying to you, hey, why don't you, this is going really well, why don't you invest another $2,000? And suddenly you're on the hook. So my point is this is not a one-off scam. It's a really sophisticated scheme for cyber criminals.
That makes a lot of sense because just recently on the channel, I covered a much more sophisticated attack against myself. YouTubers get fake sponsorship offers. Linus Tech Tips recently got totally compromised because an employee opened an email with a fake sponsorship offer, and it was a stealer, and they lost their social media for a while. Well, I get these all the time, but I got a very elaborate one. It was for a VPN company, brand new. They had the website. They had everything looked legit except the fact that their name was Legit VPN. So that was all. I knew what I was dealing with. But I went down this road to see because it was so sophisticated. When I download, they wanted me to download the application, try it. I knew obviously it was a stealer. I ran it in a test environment, and they had support staff, they had customer service reps, they had chat to walk me through the process. The whole website, you download it from there. Of course, it's a password protected zip file, so VirusTotal wouldn't know it's there. And then even after executing it, it had VM detection technology to see if it was operating in a VM. And what I looked at it didn't detect that it was in a VM here. It's a really good environment. But if I was using VMware or Proxmox, it wouldn't drop the payload and would just act like a program didn't work. So they're actually, just for a meta stealer to steal a YouTuber's social media, is trying to evade threat researchers. Like who would go that far to avoid operating in a VM,
Well, it's a compliment to the likes of security researchers such as that we have on staff, because what it's actually saying is you're going to detect me, and I might be a sample you've never seen before, but behavioral and heuristic analysis may actually show that it's malware. I think what you're actually saying is you're highlighting the reason to have security products, because it's becoming hard to detect malicious activity in that way. So you need to have the technology involved to actually detect it for you. One thing we often see actually is our researchers will reverse engineer somebody's code in that way, and they'll see a message in there for them.
That's high praise.
And often it actually calls out ESET as a company. So I think that's a compliment.
I actually had a similar thing happen because in 2020 I started my YouTube channel and I had a video on how to remove any virus from Windows, and it went super viral, 2.7 million views. So there was lots of people infected with like rats and other types of where the hacker knows what the user's doing, and then they see them going to YouTube, and then suddenly they're not infected anymore, and it put the target on me. Okay, I like that title. Let's go. But I would clean some malware on there, and in the code was like obscenities and insults to Nico Knows Tech, and I'm like, I'll take that, and I'm going to keep this one. So,
yeah, it's a compliment.
Yeah, back then I was kind of making waves in that area. I do have another question for you. So ESET is known for its proactive approach for protecting people and not just computers. But what sets your research and solutions apart from, let's say, other competitors?
Well, firstly, we're a company that's been in the market a long time. And I think longevity is important because it has that grounding. It gives us that grounding all the way back to 35 years in the industry, right from the first viruses all the way through to the sophisticated attacks we see today. I think that's important, but we're still owned by the original founders. I think that's a really big benefit.
So you're not public?
We're not a public company. We're privately owned. And to my knowledge, one of the very, very few still privately owned. And what that means is we're not, we still have a research focus. Our CEO is an ex-coder. In fact, wrote part of the engine that still not necessarily in use as it was when he wrote it, but in some form.
And not 32, right?
He wrote part of the heuristics and behavioral engine.
Oh, okay. The AI.
The early AI, the early kind of AI. So my point is that we do the right thing, and I think that sets us aside. So we're a research-heavy organisation, and you'll see us publishing our research on welivesecurity.com, and that research often includes, for example, the IFCs. And some of that research you'll look at and turn and say, well, how does that migrate into your products? Well, some of our research doesn't. Some of our research is research because we're good guys doing research against bad things and publishing that so that people know how to protect themselves against it. So we're still
do you charge money for that, or you just give that away to the world?
Well, there's a mix. So there's a sophisticated area of that where it's called threat intelligence and some threat intelligence reporting, and we would charge people for that. In some instances, we will publish things that are in the public interest.
Yeah, I've seen some We Live Security, and it seems, it's like, here's this threat here, and there's all this data that you're just giving away publicly. Like, just want all the world to know that there's something dangerous out there, and I that made me kind of think like, you're not just selling software. It seems like you genuinely care about making people safe.
We do, and if you look at our products, they're well engineered. They're not overly noisy. We're not going to continually upsell and cross sell and such like. What you want is a security product that's on your machine. You want it to be reliable. You want it to perform well. You want to not have an impact on your machine. And realistically, that's one of the biggest challenges for a company like us. Actually, is the user wants it to be performing. But of course, if a security product is performing in the background like that, how do you know it's working?
That's what I was actually going to ask you, is because one of the things that I recommend ESET to a lot of my viewers, and as long as ESET keeps making fantastic products, I'm going to continue to do so. But one of the things is they ask, is it going to slow down my machine? And I say, no, it's not. And I don't know if you could talk about it, but how do you achieve that? Because even when we went with the consumer products from like the new Home Edition Essential all the way up to Ultimate, there's more stuff happening now, but the CPU usage I checked doesn't go up.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. You can build features. It doesn't necessarily they need to all be running at the same time. So you don't need to be using those processes. And we've always been very passionate about being a really small footprint. But you have to code from that perspective. Yeah, if you sit a coder down, it's easier to write heavy code, and suddenly you're overly using you're overly using resources on the machine. You've got to write it from a performance perspective. We've always been very proud of that. And what you'll find is lots of people in the gaming industry. So gamers will use our product because it still allows them to have the resources to run the games.
There's even the gamer mode. A lot of times, ESET products seem very executive, corporate, and I mean they're nice and clean, and they gotten better. But then right when you see in their gamer mode, okay, you're thinking about me as a gamer. This isn't an office rig, it's my gaming rig, but you still care.
So one of the things that I think I love about ESET is what you'll find is, what you find is the guy in the corner. If you take groups of people in society, you'll find one person is the go-to person for tech. You often find that person is an ESET fan, for want of a better term. And they'll use it because it's not noisy. It doesn't give false positives. It's low, but it is great on performance, low on resources, and it does what it says is on the tin. So having the fan base of technology advocates, I think, is an awesome position to be in.
All right, I just have one question. Before we go any further, I wanted to bring in an old friend of mine. His name's Andy. You might remember him. Actually, here he is. How come Andy doesn't work at the company and now we have the bar of soap?
Well, you just don't see Andy anymore. Yeah, so we've got the bar of soap, which is the layers of our protection. So if you look a little bit further into our marketing, you'll see that actually it's not a bar of soap. It's about a layered technology. But let's talk about Andy, because Andy's back at my house.
Oh,
yeah, and I love Andy. Yeah, because he is an android and he's cleaning up for me and he's doing my cooking and doing my gardening and he's a great friend. And I am actually really pleased that the company decided to go for the layered approach in the bar of soap and let Andy come and retire with me.
Oh, I hope Andy's very happy at your place. A lot of my viewers, they were like, "Hey, what happened to the robot?" And I was like, I didn't know either. And I said, I was telling my guys when I was coming in here, I was like, I'm going to drop that question on ESET and see what they say.
He's alive and well, and he's alive and kicking at my house.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with me, Tony. It's been an honor, and love everything you had to say. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Nico.
And congratulations on making it to the end of the video. I hope you found this interview and coverage helpful and maybe informative. If you like it, please smash that like button. And if you'd like to keep seeing coverage of ESET World as well as other technology videos, hit that subscribe button and I will see you next time.